Hi, Frugalistas and Dumpsterinos. Welcome to the video. This is an experiment. An experiment in can Frugal Mommy learn how to do something new? And so far, no. The answer is no. But we're going to keep trying. We're going to plunge forward. And what we're doing here, you and I, we're going to react together. We're going to do our first reaction video together. I'm so distracted because there's a cat right there and its tail is wagging. So what we're going to react to are some TikTok videos, snippets as they were, people talking about the economy and the cost of living, that type of thing. Because we're all interested in that, aren't we? We're financially, interested people. There's more dumpster diving coming your way soon, but I thought this would be fun too to have on the channel, just like something new, different. Like we're hanging out together and watching videos. So let's get to it. I'm not really a TikTok person, mind you. Like I don't have it on my phone and I just looked it up online. So, bear with. Okay, here we go.
The housing market has become so unaffordable for most Americans over the past 4 years, and I want to show you what happened. In February of 2020, the average house in this country was $275,000. If you put a 10% down payment and got a 3.52% interest rate, your principal and interest was $1,114.
Where was anybody getting a house at that price 4 years ago? $275,000, not in New Jersey.
The average American only needed about $50,000 in a salary with very little debt to qualify for the average home in America. That was awesome, the American dream. Now in February of 2022, the average home went up to about $350,000. 10% down, but the interest rates were still 3.73%. So principal and interest was $1,455 plus about $600 for property tax and homeowner insurance. Put your payment out the door at $2,055. So you needed about $65,000 in a salary with very little debt to qualify. Still very doable. Now let's fast forward to current day, February 2024. Home prices have shot up to $415,000, 10% down payment. Interest rates are 6.75%, $2,423 principal and interest, $700 for property tax and homeowners insurance. Now you're looking at $3,123. So now you need about $95,000 to qualify if you have very little debt. So if you look at the down payments over the year, it's gone up only about $14,000, $15,000, which is a lot, but also doable in 4 years. But what really pinched Americans is how many individuals went from $50,000 to almost $100,000 in salary in just 4 years. That's why so many Americans can't afford a home.
Most people didn't. The interest rates now for a 30-year fixed mortgage, it's 7%. It's up to 7%. I think, too, a lot of the problem for people getting financed is what the bank thinks you need to have in order to be able to afford your mortgage. And sometimes, you might look at that mortgage, all that numbering he did, and say, well, I'm paying more than this in rent, so of course I can afford this mortgage. But then the bank is saying, no, you can't afford that because you have to have a yearly income of this to be able to afford it, and you don't. But you're saying, yeah, but I have a yearly income that's lower, but I can afford my rent that's higher. You know what I'm saying? It's like proving it to the bank. That is a problem.
How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living?
We're not. Truth of the matter, most of us are living paycheck to paycheck with credit card debt. I know people who are legitimately putting gas and groceries on credit cards just so that they can get back.
The income a family needs to live comfortably. This is data from February 14th, 2024, so almost a year old. We need to know how comfortable is defined, and they do define it. It's just hard to see. Comfortable was defined as the annual income required to cover a 50-30-20 budget, allocating 50% of earnings to necessities, 30% to discretionary spending, and 20% to savings. Wait. Who defines comfortable that way? 50% to necessities. So that's basically everything. 30% to discretionary. So everything you have to have, half your salary is supposed to cover that. And then you have 30% discretionary, which is like 30% to just blow on stuff that you don't need, that you just want, and then 20% into savings, which would be great. That is so unrealistic. That's why these numbers are so freaking high. Who came up with this? This is dumb. Source Smart. What is it? Smart Asset? Smart ass. So look at some of these numbers. Tell me what you think. Tell me from the state you're in. Anyway, to live comfortably, Montana, $211,000 a year. Montana, that cannot be true. Montana is not that expensive to live in. Look at Missouri, $202,000 a year. Missouri, I don't think so. New Jersey, which should be so much higher than Missouri. Where's New Jersey? We're little. $251,000 a year, which we sure don't come anywhere near. And I guess we don't live comfortably, but I feel pretty comfortable. I mean, my room is a little cold right now because it's winter and it's cold and it's an old house and I can feel the wind through the windows, but it's still comfortable. I'm in a house, and that's crazy. That's just crazy. Maine, $230,000 a year. You could live like a freaking king. $190,000 a year for Kentucky, $196,000 for Tennessee, $194,000 for Alabama, $178,000 for Missouri. No, I already said Missouri. Mississippi, $178,000. Arkansas, $181,000. I mean, those are the states you think of, those sort of Midwestern going down south states that are usually more affordable. Those amounts are crazy. I mean, I'm sorry. Is there anybody watching from Kentucky? $190,000 a year? Of course you'd be comfortable. I mean, wouldn't it? It's a lot. Doesn't it seem like a lot? Am I just really out of touch with the numbers? Hi, kitty. Which is the highest? California, I think. New York, 279,000. Well, because they're averaging in New York City, like upstate New York isn't like that. California, 277,000 a year. Massachusetts looks like the highest, 301,000 to be comfortable in Massachusetts.
So the National Association of Home Builders, they came out swinging with this article, swinging. So 49% of people cannot afford a $250,000 home. 49% cannot afford $250,000. First of all, I don't know anywhere you can even get a decent home for $250,000, but I digress. The news gets better. Your median home price right now is $495,000 in the US. That means 77% of people in the US cannot buy the median home right now. 77%. That is okay. Cool.
Seniors in BC are estimated to make up 25% of the population by 2036, meaning more pressure on government services to keep up. That as seniors are facing higher housing costs and grocery bills as the cost of living stretches their budgets.
The calls we get in, seniors who are forced, even at the age of 70, to go back and find work just to be able to keep their homes. Their Uber drivers get into maintenance, cleaning jobs. Sometimes they can really push them physical body to the limit.
1 in 4 seniors in BC earns less than $23,000 a year, an amount that falls below the poverty line, according to the province's seniors advocate.
Would they say $23,000? So that's Canadian dollars, because we're talking about British Columbia. And if I'm doing the conversion correctly, which I might not be, but I'm thinking that's about what, like 16,000 US dollars? Like $16,000 that's not a lot of money. What's the deal, Canadians? Like, what's the deal with your Social Security, pensioners, old age? This is sad. Nobody wants to work at 70. I surely don't.
This is getting ridiculous. All this is $74. I got 2 lemonades, coffee creamer, some churros twist, some Pop-Tarts, Takis, some dog treats and M&Ms, and water. $74, guys. This is ridiculous. I thought it was going to come out with like maybe $40. Nope.
I don't really know what to say about the prices of that grocery cart of purchases, which I hesitate to call food. It's a lot of money for some utter shit. That's shit. She bought a lot of shit. I mean, she got water. Water's not shit, but yeah, junk food, it's expensive. It's crap. It was a waste of money. You could have spent $75 and gotten some mangoes and some bananas and some apples, maybe some popcorn, bag of lemons, some cheese and crackers. Food is a necessity, but that was not food. That's not a necessity. So,
New lease agreement because my lease ends next month and freaking out a little bit. Every single year, my rent has gone up by $100. I live by myself. I pay the entirety of the rent on my own. My new rent starting next month is $1,200. $1,200. For one, I don't know how I've even been paying $1,100 for the past month. I don't know how I've been doing it, but I've been doing it. Barely. Obviously, I cannot afford the cost of living, and I need to get my dog a behaviorist, which I also cannot afford. I need to pay off my credit cards, which I cannot afford to do. They have been closed for 3 years. I have been paying them off for 3 years. And I did try looking into getting a part-time job, but I simply do not have time on top of my full-time job and having a dog that, I need to be home for.
There's so many people on TikTok who are upset about their financial situation, but they live alone. Like, so many of them do. Like, nobody has roommates anymore. When I got out of college, nobody ever thought that they could live alone. Nobody thought they were going to live alone. Everybody had a roommate. Nobody could live alone. Nobody rented their own apartment. Like, it took years. A lot of people pretty much had roommates until they got married, and then they just got a different roommate.
I have a question. How are poor people supposed to live? How are poor people supposed to live? We need to have a really real conversation about the fact that poor people are being priced out of everything. Let me tell you all a story. The other day, I was ripping and running around town, super busy, and, I didn't have a lot of time. I was like, I want something cheap and easy, right? So I was at the bank, and the bank was right next to a Sonic. I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna get a corn dog. I haven't had a Sonic corn dog in a while. I don't even eat Sonic, but I was like, you know what? I just want something fast and cheap before I pass out. So I go to Sonic and I order the corn dog. One corn dog. Why was one corn dog about this big? $2. $2 for a corn dog. When I was in high school, those used to be like 60 fucking cents. We would go get them after football games. They used to be 60 cents and now they're $2. So that means if you're a single mom on minimum wage with 3 kids and y'all went to go get a treat at Sonic and everybody get a corn dog, she couldn't even afford that with 1 hour of her work. That's not crazy to you? That deodorant costs more than minimum wage? That there's no value menus on fast food? And I don't like to thrift, but my mom does. Jeans at Goodwill and all these thrift stores should not be $20, $25. Like, we have completely lost the point.
I've never had a corn dog in my whole life. I've never had a corn dog. I don't really want to have a corn dog. I had no idea where she was going to go with the pricing of the corn dogs. Like, I thought she was going to say $8 because I wanted to go somewhere like really outrageous in my head of like what a corn dog really shouldn't cost. So then when she said 2, I was like, well, that's definitely not as bad as $8 for a corn dog. You can't eat out. I don't think the young people know that. You can't eat out. I'm sorry, you can't eat out.
Serious question. How are people affording anything in 2025? I'm having surgery in 2 weeks on my neck, so I was told to get certain types of shirts so it wouldn't bother the area. I go to Goodwill. Goodwill. I'm looking at prices $9.99 for used shirts that are of no brand of value at all anywhere. Like, maybe it was Target. I don't even know. I probably could go to Target and get it for like brand new for the same price at this point. Yep. I don't know.
She's so right. She has amazing skin too, by the way, or her makeup, her skin looks amazing. But she's so right. Thrifting is not so thrifty anymore.
How is it that I have just gotten priced out of a thrift store? Not only that, I cannot remember the last time I actually went out and had a meal in a restaurant. We do not order out. We don't even get pizza because we're trying to save everything for 2025 with all of my health stuff. I am so sick of my own fucking cooking. You have no idea. I'm a bad cook. And I am so freaking tired of my own food. But how do people afford to go to a restaurant, sit down, and have a meal. Like, that is a
afford it.
foreign
They can't.
concept to me at
They
this
can't.
point.
I know. Totally foreign.
And I can't even remember the last time I went and saw a movie in a theater. I can't even afford to rent them on demand. We'll show you what I do. This is what I do. I have an enormous DVD collection.
I have the Friends ones too.
And this is all I can afford, because I will get these at the thrift stores. Cheap as shit. To be honest with you, I feel like I'm 20 years old again and I'm living pennies to pennies and can't afford dick anymore. How are people doing this?
Oh my God. If Democrats do not change their messaging on the economy, it's going to cost them the election.
Oh, well, it already did.
Yeah.
So let me chime in on how people are making it right now in America with inflation at an all-time high. People that are making $35 an hour, $40 an hour are still broke. So you wonder, am I the only one feeling this? I know you guys are driving around in your city, seeing people still at the grocery stores, still in the fast food lines, still acting as everything is normal. But there's one thing that, if you haven't noticed, people are not using their money to survive right now. They're using credit cards. And if you look at America's credit card usage right now, it is at an all-time high. Most families are already maxed out. And I'm going to tell you one thing that's going to send everything into let's say a bad spot. They're not going to pay these credit cards back. They're spending knowing that they're not going to pay these credit cards back. And so now that these people's credit cards are maxed out and credit companies are no longer giving them money to survive and buy their food, because we don't have any help in our food. If you make money like I make money, you go to that grocery store, or your wife goes, because I haven't been in the grocery store in I don't know how long, but my wife goes to the grocery store. And if we don't spend $600 or $700 on a grocery trip, I'm surprised. But my situation is different. I have a lot of kids, but
that's what I was wondering. How many
you wonder
kids?
how people are making it out here, and they are not making it off their own money.
I totally get his point, but when weren't Americans putting everything on their credit cards? Like, I don't remember anybody using cash 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I like that.
I'm a little concerned, just on how my generation and the future generations are supposed to buy homes. So how are we supposed to buy a home when minimum homes are $300,000? 20% of $300,000 is $60,000. So for me to have to save up $20,000 just to put down, never mind closing costs and your realtor that you have to pay and all of the other fees that you have to pay, which could be a minimum of like $8,000 to $15,000 for closing costs. I've heard people pay way more. And then what if you want to have a family? What if your girlfriend or your wife gets pregnant and you're like, hey, we should raise this baby. How are you going to afford it? Who's going to watch your baby? So I just want to think about that for people who are rushing into relationships and rushing to grow up. It is very difficult, not only because you can't afford anything unless you make above $100,000, especially in the New England. You just can't afford to live. You can't even afford to save money. You can't afford to go on vacation. Most of these people are living paycheck to paycheck. So don't rush to move out.
Live with your parents. Save as much money as you can. Do not rush into other adult responsibilities. And do not eat out. And stay at home with your mom and learn to cook. That's what you should do. We need to remember also, though, that in the next 30 years or so, the baby boomers are going to die off. I'm like the youngest of the baby boomers. My birth year, 1964, we are the youngest of the baby boomers, and we all just turned 60. So 30, 35 years. I mean, I plan to make it to like 115, but the baby boomers are going to be dying off, which means all of their assets and all of the property they own, it's going to get either sold or inherited. Like, the next generations are going to be inheriting vast amounts of all this baby boomer wealth. So that has to have some kind of good impact for them. right, that was a lot less depressing. Let's end with the little kitten and his little hat. It was an experiment. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below.